unfold, where truth abides. From the mundane to the extraordinary, we'll explore it all. It's our territory. Call it what you want, we'll break a new ground, where ideas spark and insights abound. Call it what you want, we'll make our stand. In this podcast, we'll hand in hand. So tune in now, let's seize the day. Call it what you want, come what may. So tune in now, let's seize the day. Call it what you want, come what may. It's a podcast.
Hey everyone, it's DJ Miss T from No More Games Radio. Welcome to episode 2 of the Call What You Want podcast. So we're so excited to get this started. Our second episode is going to be about boy bands. Obviously, I'd be doing this episode because they consider me the boy band queen. Many of the girls at our station, and I believe many New Kids fans, are pretty boy band monogamous. If you don't know what that means that you're kind of loyal to just one boy band. That's your group, and that's totally fine. I don't do that. I believe that you can like as many groups as you want to. You know, even now, it's so, Backstreet or NSYNC. I like both. I am more Backstreet because they have stayed together, but I don't do the whole pick and choose thing. If you like the songs, you can like as many boy bands as you want to, but some do stay loyal to one, and that's fine. So what I'm going to talk about this podcast episode is, what is a boy band? People have different definitions. Who is the original boy band? We all have our opinions on that. And also I'm going to talk about different groups throughout the decades and give some stories out. If you guys have any thoughts or opinions, please let us know. Message us on the posts that goes up when our episodes will be going up. And, let me know if you agree or disagree with me. Totally fine. So let's go ahead and start with the definition. What is a boy band? I got this definition online. There's a couple different definitions. So a boy band is a vocal harmony group consisting of 4 to 5 members who dance and sing. Usually 2 or 3 members sing a majority of songs. And it's usually R&B pop, and it's aimed toward young girls. So that's pretty accurate. I do disagree with some of the definition. The dancing part, I don't feel like you need to dance to be in a boy band. You have Hanson, you have One Direction, you have 90 Degrees. They don't really dance. Jeff Timmons jokes, we know how to do the 2-step, and that's about it. Side to side. I don't feel like you need to do full-on like NSYNC choreography to be a boy band. I do agree with the vocal harmony part. I do agree with the R&B pop. I don't consider like pop rock groups a boy band. Like, I've heard people say Blink-182 or even like kind of like Busted or like McFly. I don't know if I consider them boy bands because they're more pop rock. I'm more in the R&B pop opinion, but again, people have their own opinions. 4 to 5 members, I don't agree with that because you have groups like, again, Hanson, BB Mac, LFO, there's 3 members, and some have more, like the K-pop groups, and they are definitely boy bands. So I don't agree with the 4 to 5 members either. So you guys let me know, what is your definition of boy band? I definitely believe vocal harmony, R&B pop. It could be any amount of members, and I don't think you need to dance either. So that's just my definition. So the other question is, who is the original boy band? And this is a lot of controversy here, because some people say the Beatles, but I consider them pop rock-ish. So I don't know if I consider them the original boy band. And I don't really consider them a vocal harmony group. They sing well, but boy banders usually have stronger vocals. If you're gonna go off the dance, they definitely don't dance. I don't know. I've seen on different boy band countdowns, when they have like, best boy band song or best boy band album. I see them on some of the definitions, and some of the articles and definitions I don't see them on. So it's a mixed bag. If you're going off of original boy band, my personal opinion would be the Jackson 5 because of the order it's gone in. When Maurice Starr made New Edition, he wanted to make an 80s Jackson 5. So that starts with the Jacksons. And then he made New Kids on the Block to have a white counterpart. So there's a domino effect. Jackson 5, okay, now New Edition, okay, now New Kids. Lou Pearlman wanted his own group because he was influenced by New Kids on the Block. So there you go with the domino effect. Jackson 5, New Edition, New Kids, Backstreet Boys, and then, okay, I need to have another group. So there comes NSYNC, and then more of the domino effect. So if I'm going to go off the original, I'm going to go off the Jackson 5. Speaking of some of these other groups, Jackson 5 and the Osmonds, they were out in the 60s, 70s very heavily. Jackson still perform now. I saw them last year in concert. The Osmonds have retired. I know Donnie still does like Vegas shows. The Jacksons and Osmonds, very similar. They were both family groups. Donnie Osmond did an interview and he said that both groups, they were friends with each other. Their dads were very similar, very dominating. Their moms very quiet, and both played instruments. And both Mrs. Jackson and Mrs. Osmond have the same birthday. Crazy. The seventh kid was the star, so the seventh kid was Michael. Seventh kid of the Osmonds was Donnie. He said the similarities were scary. There were so many similarities of both families. 9 kids, the whole thing. Also, side note on the Osmonds, they have a very good documentary that's out. It came out on BBC back in 2003. I saw it randomly on YouTube. Really good documentary about their career, how dominating their dad was, things like that. Very good documentary. The Jacksons, you guys should know, the Jacksons did a movie back in the early 90s. They show it all the time on VH1. It talked about the history of the family up until the 80s. It's a really great documentary. So I consider them both the original boy bands. And then we have other groups, I consider R&B groups to be boy bands as well. You have Temptations, Four Tops, even things like Beach Boys, different groups like that, because they'll have vocal harmony groups and singing pop music. So I do consider them all to be R&B groups, to be boy bands, I should say. So that's more the 60s, 70s. We're going to the 80s. We had Menudo, Puerto Rican group. They were different because they switched out members. So as soon as you pretty much hit puberty, they switched out. They were trying to have young members to attract a younger audience. And as I mentioned earlier, Maurice Starr came out with New Edition. He wanted an 80s Jackson 5, had huge success. Let me stick on New Edition for a second. They do not get the credit that they deserve. Their group was so unique because they had 5 members. One of them left, brought in another member, still had success. They all had successful solo careers. They all they broke into another group. Velvet DeVoe had success there. Like, you never see that. A lot of boy band members, they break off and try to do solo stuff, and it's not that successful. So then they just go back to the group. They just do it, okay, let me do my thing for a second, and then they eventually, go back to their group. But New Edition had success all the way around. So as I mentioned, Maurice Starr, he wanted a white counterpart because he felt like the white audience didn't have a group. Menudo had the Puerto Rican audience, Latin audience. New Edition pretty much had a black audience. So then New Kids came out. Obviously, they're very successful. They're still out today after a 14-year break, came back, 2008, still doing their thing, still selling out shows and everything. So I wasn't a New Kids fan back in the day because I was a tad bit too young. When they were huge, I was like 5 to 7. And during that time, I was into the Jacksons, very heavily into the Jacksons, my dad's oldies, all that stuff. So there weren't that many, I guess, quote-unquote boy bands back in the 80s. But in the 90s, though, there is literally like 50,000 boy bands. Okay, maybe not 50,000, but probably 50. There were so many groups. US, Canadian, UK, K-pop came out during that time. I remember in high school, one of my friends, Yumi, she's a Korean American. She was into K-pop, like late 90s. So let's start with, 90s. We're going into New Kids still. And then Lou Pearlman brought out Backstreet, NSYNC, LFO, Sino, who just made a return, Take 5. I'm blanking out. He had other groups that came out as well. And then had a girl group also, Innocence. And then we had 90 Degrees, which 90 Degrees actually came out before Backstreet and NSYNC, and they were actually signed to Motown. They were the first white group to be signed to Motown. They're still out doing their thing today. UK, let's go to the UK. We have Take That. Take That was made by Nigel Martin Smith. He wanted his own New Kids. So Take That was the UK counterpart to New Kids. There's a man named Tom Watkins who wanted his own Take That. He came up with the group Rose and E17, who were more pop, hip hop type groups. And then Louis Walsh, if you don't know who he is, he's been a judge on the UK X Factor for a long time. I'm not sure if he's still on the X Factor, but he was on many seasons. He wanted his own version to Take That, but an Irish version. So we had Boyzone, and then he later on made Westlife. So all these groups came out. Let me see, I have a list here. We have Let Loose, we have MN8, we have 911, we have Five, No Mercy, Damage. And like I said, most of these are UK groups. Some pop R&B, hip hop. So many groups. And the thing is, which Backstreet Boys have talked about, is that especially with the European groups, a lot of them lip synced, and a lot of them were just one or two people singing. That's what I love about Backstreet Boys, and it's pretty rare. Backstreet, 9 Degrees, I believe Boyz II Men, they're one of the few groups where all of them sang, get like lead vocal. And Backstreet Boys were very heavy on that. When they went to go to Europe, along with NSYNC, they would go to these shows and people were lip syncing all over the place. And they said, no, we need to sing a cappella. So Backstreet and NSYNC sang a cappella, they sang live. And the groups were like, oh wow, they're singing a cappella, they're singing live. So they were very big on that. And also Backstreet really wanted to show all of their vocals. So like I said, at the beginning, it was more Nick, Brian, and AJ singing. But later on, the past 10 years or so, if you listen to their albums, everyone sings. That's not a knock. I actually saw a very interesting interview with Chris and Joey from NSYNC. And if you're an NSYNC fan, you know Joey Fatone and Lance, they really don't get lead vocals ever. Chris has on a few songs here and there, specifically I Drive Myself Crazy. And he talked about this at a 90s con. They had a boy band panel. And Chris and Joey joked, they said, yeah, we really didn't sing in the group, but we knew our place. When they made the group, they knew that Justin and JC, I should say, were going to be the lead singers. That's just how it was. They knew it. They were the best singers of the group. And Chris brought up a very good point, which I did not think about. He goes, look back at the doo-wop groups. Look back at the Temptations, Four Tops. They usually had one or two lead singers and everyone else was in the background. That's just how it was. Look back at the doo-wop groups, and that is a very good point. So at least the guys in NSYNC, they knew their role. Because some guys might be a little bit bitter of, well, you know, I don't get to sing, they sing more, that type of thing. Like I said, you definitely see it with the European groups. There was actually a joke performance, I think it was X Factor. They made fun of Boyzone because if you know Ronan Keating, he was definitely the lead singer along with Stephen Gately. Rest in peace, Stephen. He passed away in his 30s of a heart issue during their reunion tour. So anyway, Stephen and Ronan were the lead singers, and the other guys, they pretty much were just there. They never sang. So the guy made fun of him during a performance, and everyone was kind of cringing, but it was the truth though. That's how a lot of the European groups were. One or two were the main singers, the rest, they were kind of just in the background looking good. And some of them probably didn't have the best vocals. So again, that's why I appreciate the Backstreet, like, I don't know, 9 Degrees, Boyz II Men, you know, singing a cappella, all of them singing, appreciate that. So, talking about reunions real quick, like I mentioned earlier, New Kids broke up back in 94, took 14 years off, they've been back together since 2008. A lot of the boy bands, it's the same thing, copy-paste, so that I noticed. They're together 5-6 years, break up. Some do not get back together. Some do get back together. Usually it's around 10 years or so. That's pretty much the majority of the boy bands that I'm seeing. Some never got back together, or it's 10 plus years. Backstreet Boys have never broken up, despite what some people have said. Boyz II Men have not broken up. Another group, All For One, they've been together 30 plus years also, so kudos to them for staying together. And yes, I know Kevin left for a few years in Backstreet, but he did come back. I keep seeing articles saying, oh, Backstreet Boys broke up and got back together in 2020. And I was like, wait, what? I've seen pretty much all Backstreet's tours. They have never broken up. So again, kudos to Backstreet and Boyz II Men and All For One for sticking together. Like I mentioned, a lot of these groups get back together or they just don't get back together at all. So going back to Take That, they were together from 93 to around 97. And when they broke up, fun fact, they were still pretty huge. When New Kids broke up, they pretty much fizzled out. So when Take That broke up, people were crying. They had a hotline, the whole thing. Like, people were devastated. They got back together in 2006 without Robbie Williams because Robbie Williams shot off to international superstardom. On YouTube, they actually have 3 documentaries about Take That throughout their reunions. Really good documentaries, by the way, so please check that out. So they got back together in 2006, and they've still been doing their reunion. Again, Robbie Williams, he's been in and out of the group. Now he's not. And another member, Jason Orange, left a few years back, so they only have 3. So Gary Barlow was even like, okay, well, we need to end because there's only 3 of us. But the fans like, no, we still want to see you, even if there's 3. So you have Gary Barlow, Mark Owen, and Howard Donald still doing their thing. Boyzone, same thing. They were together for a few years, like 94-ish to 98, 99, broke up. Got back together in 2009. And as I mentioned very briefly, right in between the reunion tour, they took like a month break or so. Stephen Gately passed away at 32 of heart issues in his sleep. So they continue on as a foursome from 2009 to 2019. They eventually ended things. They said it's just not the same without Stephen. Totally understandable. Westlife, same thing. Got together around 98, 99. After a few years, broke up. Again, took a 10-year-ish break. And they're still doing their reunion tour. They got back together around 2014. So it's been about 10 years. They were just out in the States, but they didn't come out to LA, the LA area. But it was cool to see them come to the States. They went to Chicago, New York. I know Toronto, they had to add 2 more dates. They did 3 shows out there. New York, I believe they were in Boston also. So it was for St. Patrick's Day. Obviously, they're Irish, so they're going to be celebrating that. Let me see, who else? We had, the Jonas Brothers. Well, let me not skip ahead because that's the 2010s. But, I mean, just kind of giving examples of how these groups kind of go. It's a few years, and then we're going to break up after that. So we're going to the 2000s, and I automatically think of O-Town. So this is another topic. We were talking about people who made groups. Now we're going to talk about TV shows that made groups. Going back to the 60s, we had the Monkees. That was a fake group, but they definitely blew up and had some hit singles. We only have one Monkee left, Mickey Dolenz. The rest, unfortunately, have passed away the past 10-ish years. A couple of them very recently, the past couple years. So we had the Monkees that was made on TV. Well, TV group, I should say. One that was actually made was O-Town, and I watched this when I was 17 years old. We had discussions about this at school. It was making the band. Lou Pearlman wanted a new group, and this is in the middle of all the NSYNC, them suing Lou, the whole thing. So I watched it, and they made the group O-Town. Again, same thing. The group was out for a few years, broke up for 10 years, got back together again, and they've been doing their thing the past 10 years. Ashley Parker Angel did leave, so there's 4 of them now since the reunion. I just saw them for the Pop 2000 tour. So good. Like, the energy, amazing, vocals amazing. I saw them along with BB Mac and Chris from NSYNC and Ryan Cabrera. Side note, Pop 2000 tour, if you haven't seen it, go see it. Great show. So O-Town was made on TV, and then that led to P. Diddy taking over, and then he made a group, Day 26. Unfortunately, they didn't last too long. And then he made a girl group also, and a pop, well, I guess an R&B rap group as well. And then he also had other groups like 112, and then we had other R&B groups like Jagged Edge. Again, R&B groups, but I consider them boy bands as well because they're vocal harmony groups singing R&B music. So I do consider them boy bands. Another group that was made on TV, One Direction. We cannot leave out One Direction. They all auditioned single, as single acts on the UK X Factor. And everyone thought that Simon Cowell put them together, but they very recently just found out that Nicole Scherzinger actually put them together. She was a judge on the X Factor at the time, and someone found a hidden video of her. They were trying to put the group together, and then she picked out each of the 5 guys and put them together. So Nicole Scherzinger is the reason why there's One Direction in that particular group. So, and again, the same thing, out a few years, and they officially broke up, and they're all doing solo stuff now. And obviously we know Harry Styles completely blew up and actually won a Grammy. Boy banders never win Grammys. They're pretty much discriminated against in the Grammy votes. So, congrats to Harry Styles. Niall Horan has had a pretty good, successful solo career as well. So these are some examples of groups that were made on TV. Monkeys, O-Town, One Direction. Let me see what else. I'm looking at the R&B groups. Again, Boyz II Men. We have Shy, Silk, Call Me Bad, All for One. I do consider R&B groups to be boy bands, vocal harmony, R&B pop. Some of them dance. If they don't dance, it's fine. If you want to fit the definition, 4 to 5 members, they usually have 4 members. As we know, Boyz II Men have 3 now, because Michael McCreary, he had, unfortunately, scoliosis, and now he has MS, so he hasn't been able to perform in 20-ish years. There was some controversy with that, because allegedly some of the members of Boyz II Men were like, oh, he's not putting in the work, the whole thing. But unfortunately, he did have health issues. But again, Boyz II Men, they've been doing their thing the past 20 years as a threesome, so it's fine. And they have made up with Michael, so that's cool too, because they did have a falling out with him. Let me see what else. Okay, we're getting to the 2010s. Like I mentioned, One Direction. We have The Wanted. Rest in peace to Tom. Again, and I keep repeating myself here, another group who was out for a few years. They broke up. They got back together very quickly for a couple of weeks. Did like a 2-week tour because, remember, Tom Parker, he unfortunately got glioblastoma, which is a brain tumor, and he unfortunately passed away a couple years ago. So what happened was they got back together real quick, did like a 2-3 week tour, and literally the week after, Tom passed away. So it was basically goodbye to the fans, and just very, very sad. The Wanted had some great songs though, and then we have other groups like BTR, Big Time Rush, again, Jonas Brothers, same thing, together a few years. They broke up, I believe, 8-ish years, got back together, huge comeback with the song Sucker. Nick Jonas had a huge solo career. Joe Jonas with his group DNCE, great songs. So now we're going into current boy bands. A lot of it's K-pop. So we have groups like Big Bang, BTS, of course, who they're taking a break because they're doing military service, and 17, and yeah, just so many groups, I'm trying to think of some of the other groups I see. 5 Seconds of Summer, let me look real fast. Raksu was a group that was made on UK X Factor. We have CNCO, we have Pretty Much, we have Why Don't We. These are all groups, again, 2010s. Going to 2020s, same thing. These groups together a few years and then break up. It's the same thing. JLS, they're another great group. They run UK X Factor also. They were R&B pop as well. So, just to sum it all up, we have groups throughout the decades. Oh, I'm going through my list. I forgot about 3T. 3T was a great group as well, in the Jackson family. 3T is Tito Jackson's sons, Taj, Terrell, and TJ. Same thing again, for a few years, and then they broke up. Terrell is actually performing with the Jacksons. So when I saw them last year, Terrell was performing with them. And some of them are still doing like solo music and stuff like that. So shout out to 3T. So anyway, just to sum it all up, we're going to have boy bands forever. Boy bands are never going to go away. It kind of has slowed down now. We do have K-pop. As far as like American groups, you really don't have anything. I know I just saw something recently that I posted. Simon Cowell's looking for a new boy band. And, we'll see what happens with that, because he did have One Direction. And yeah, that's about it. So you guys let me know what your definition of a boy band is. If you agree with my definition, which is vocal harmony, R&B pop, you don't have to dance. You don't have to have 4 to 5 members only. Some of you guys may disagree. Some of you guys may be like, well, no, they should dance. Let me know. And also who the original is. I think it's Jackson 5. Some of you guys may disagree with me, be like, nope, I think it's the Beatles. That's totally fine. Let me know why. And if I left out any boy bands, let me know. I try to go through this whole list of how they were made and who was most popular. I do consider R&B groups boy bands. Some people may disagree with that also, so let me know. So that's it for my boy band episode. Again, any comments, let me know. Message me or message me in the post. We have episode 3 coming soon. Thank you guys so much for joining me on the Call What You Want podcast.